Hello and welcome. My name is Justin Hardman. I'm coming to you today from Hong Kong for this online streaming session on a Friday afternoon. I'm joined today by Kirk McCullough, who is at the ABA Oman International School, where he is the elementary school ed tech coordinator. And today he's going to be sharing about AI in the primary school. Kirk and I were just talking about before we went live about how when you're conferences and sessions often about AI. It's not always for about AI in the primary school. So I think this is a much needed corrective to that. So I'm very happy to be joined by Kirk. And as usual with all of these sessions, please drop any comments or questions in the chat as we go. And then we'll get to those at the end of Kirk's presentation. So yeah, just go ahead and say hello. If you can't see chat window because you're on a platform that doesn't support that, then you can jump onto the YouTube stream or one of the other streams. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Kirk. Off you go, Kirk.
Hey, thank you, Justin, and hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation today. As Justin mentioned, this is focused more on primary school because I did feel like a lot of the stuff I was seeing was for older children. But a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about here is still applicable to older students. I'm just looking at it from the lens of a primary teacher. Okay, so let's dive into it. This is just the About Me page. I am the elementary school ed tech coordinator for ABA Oman International School in Muscat. But before that, I worked in Beijing, and I've always enjoyed the 21st Century Learning Conference, and I'm happy to be here today. So if you'd like to connect with me, I'm always looking to expand my network, and these are some of the interests and experience I have. But let's dive right in. So for several years now, we've been hearing about AI. In my experience as primary teachers, we are not as tech heavy as, say, middle school and high school or tertiary education. But it's really important for us to keep our head in the games here and stay abreast of what's going on. So that's going to be part of what I'm trying to do today. So let's look at the breakdown of what we're going to do. So we'll just look at the state of the art, spotting AI tools, best practice, productivity, and questions. That's going to be the game plan today. All right, so this was really interesting for me to brush up on. I'm going to go through some slides here. So it's really hard to keep up with AI, as I'm sure you're aware. It's like the most rapidly changing thing I've ever seen, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. Sometimes it seems there's stuff changing. And so probably my presentation is already out of date in some areas. But this, just by attending this, I think you're taking a positive step, because we need to keep a pulse on AI. It's so powerful. It's showing up everywhere, whether you want to or not. You know, now you do a Google search, you get an AI answer, whether you want or not. On your Mac, on your Windows computer, it's in Facebook. Canva has it, Seesaw has it. It's going to be everywhere, and the kids are going to have more and more exposure to it. So we have a responsibility as educators to keep up with it. There's a lot of money in it. There's talk of an AI bubble right now, and it's been really interesting to see, is it a bubble? How big of a bubble? Is it going to pop? When is it going to pop? You know, education tends to run in fads. So it'll be interesting to see. We're already seeing some of the early adopters pulling back. But it'll be really interesting to see how, A, this affects the world in general, and B, how this affects education in particular. We do see sometimes with new technology that there's a big buy-in and it's a buzzword and everybody's on it. And then when the bubble pops, everybody pulls back and shuts it down, and things are gathering dust. But I think AI is going to be here to stay long-term in education, but I could be wrong. But it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. Another interesting stat I saw was that half of adult messages were from people under 26. So we see the youth and younger generations are really coming into AI in a meaningful way. And we'll talk about how it's spreading around the world too. Another interesting thing was we see the most users tend to be high earners with a high education. So one of the things that I think we should be concerned about is this is going to be those that have will get more, and those that don't have will get less. Places with less infrastructure, less access to AI are getting less benefits from AI. So this is going to create more of a gap. It's going to increase the gap between the haves and the have-nots. That's something to really keep an eye on. So we see a classic exponential growth curve here for the growth of AI. It's really catching on fast. The question now is it going to start to go vertical, or is it going to peter off? These were really interesting stats, and I got these from the ChatGPT's white paper that they released last year. But you can see that the number one that's come out long term is practical guidance. People are using it for practical guidance. I know I am. If I have a problem at work, if I need to think through something with a parent, that's the way I'm often using it. And again, seeking information. I'll admit that when I have to do a quick Google search, I really like those AI blurbs, and they have been pretty accurate when I fact check them. And then writing number 3. So this describes me exactly. It'll be interested to hear how you all are using it, if that's what you see. But that's how it's been playing out on the ChatGPT side. That was for personal. This is for work. And again, this is very true for me. I use ChatGPT as an editor. Sometimes I use it for ideas. Sometimes I use it for a framework. But that's how we see it being used at work. And then I thought it was interesting just to make a brief mention. We do see a bit of a difference in how men and women use it, with men using it more for technical help and women using it for writing. I just thought that was interesting to see how that's playing out. Oh, and we did see at the beginning when ChatGPT was first released, it was predominantly male users, but now we've reached almost a perfect equilibrium of male and female users. So it's becoming more uniform in that way. This is from Claude and Anthropic. Obviously, this isn't accurate for China. Well, I mean, I'm actually not sure how AI is being used in China. I'd be interested to hear, but I know they use different systems. Obviously, Claude is not very popular there. But the general trend I saw here was you see first world or developed countries making heavier use of AI and less developed countries making less use of it. Again, this is the sort of have and have-nots. The places with more infrastructure and access to AI are seeing more use and more benefits from AI. All right, so ChatGPT rated they had users rate their usage experience, and it came out as almost 60% good, which is, it sounds good, but if we were to give that a grade, that would be a failing grade. So this made me wonder, what's it going to look like when we hit 90%, 95%, 100% good? AI is still in its nascent stages. There's still a lot of stuff it can't do, but I think we really need to be trying to think ahead here. What's it going to be like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years when we hit those 90, 95%? Will we ever hit 100%? Probably not. But as it gets increasingly better, we're going to see change and evolution there. This is something I think is really important for us to think about. We are the only adults who are mature and experiencing this from before, during, and after. We know a pre-AI world. We have students now, especially people being born after AI, they will never know a world without AI. And I think they will have a distinctly different view of the world and a perception of reality. So we have that advantage of walking along with AI as it grows. We'll be the only ones who get to experience that. And we need to share that experience. We need to, especially with our younger learners, we need to help them see fact from fiction and real from fake, and to understand that we can't always believe our eyes when it's online, because we've had that experience and we are mature adults who got to experience the pre-AI world. All right, so that leads us into spotting AI. This is always fun for me, although this picture here has been my reaction this year. Last year, I was seeing AI all over Facebook, and it was really irritating me because it was bad AI. It was AI slop, sort of. And this year, I noticed I was seeing a lot less AI, and I thought, great. But then when I thought about it more, I thought, oh, it's not that there's less AI out there. It's just that I'm not spotting it because it's getting better. And AI has already reached the point where if it's like a generic picture, you can't tell if it's AI or not. You know, there are some tells somewhere, but especially with the more sophisticated models, you can't tell if it's real or fake. So let's look at how we can spot AI images. I'm always on the lookout just passively, and these are some examples I grabbed from Facebook. The left one, I hope, it's hard to describe, but I hope you have that AI sense where you look at it and your brain automatically goes, that's AI. And you may not be able to put a finger on it, but both of these, as I was scrolling through my feed, something's wrong. Something's not quite right there. The left one, people have said, is too perfect. If you look at it, there's like a road that runs into the whatever that is. It's not even clear what that is. But that AI sense is something we need to instill in our learners. And I think there's a lot of good activities you can do with spotting AI, how to tell real from fake. I'm going to do an activity with my students where they make their own fake news article, because again, we as adults know, but even for us, it's hard to tell sometimes. But what are our poor kids supposed to do when they're growing up with this and they're seeing real and fake fed to them in equal parts? And oftentimes there's no flag about whether it's real or fake. So we really need to develop that sense and pass that on to our students. Okay, I just wanted to talk briefly about AI text. Just like with images, I have an AI sense. I can say, that doesn't look right. I don't think that's a real image. We need to have that sense for writing, just so we can tell when we're being fed AI and when we're not. Because again, a lot of the times people aren't telling us whether something's AI or not. So these are some things you can look for. And I wanted to give an advantage here, an example here. So this is some text I saw on Facebook again, and immediately I suspect it's AI. Again, this person didn't say it was AI, but when I look at here, the M dash is a huge one. I wonder how long it's going to be until that goes away, because for me, the M dash is the red flag for AI. And if you don't know what an M dash is, I'll highlight some examples here. These are the M dashes, those long dashes. Usually when we use a dash, it's the N dash or the short dash. But for some reason, AI really likes those M dashes, which are the long dash. The rule of three, AI often likes to give 3 examples of something. It uses sort of generic examples. It sounds artificial. It can be repetitive. This one here ticks all those boxes. So, but again, this was probably not done with one of the more advanced AIs. So it may be that this won't always be a way to detect AI. But I'll talk about AI detectors later. But the best AI detector in your classroom is you, and we need to sort of practice that and keep up with it. So I got a couple videos, examples of AI video. The first one is one I made myself. I made a Cantonese one, but my wife said it wasn't good. So I guess Cantonese is too difficult for AI right now, but we'll see how it goes. This is me speaking Arabic and Muscat.
السلام عليكم. نحن الآن نمشي على كورنيش مسقط على بحر العرب. هذا المكان كان منذ قرون بوابة عمان.
So that's a completely fake video. I cannot speak Arabic like that. And the really scary thing is that Sora does this. It only had about 10 seconds of me speaking, and my face turned to the side and to the front, and it was able to put this whole video together from that tiny bit. And just me as a non-professional user was able to do this. So I'm really interested in the video space right now and how that's going to unfold. The next video I have, you can already tell it's a fake. And this is where we look for those little keys. If you see the 230, the 55 degrees, and the like, share, subscribe, those are strategically placed to cover up the Sora icon. So this person is trying to pass this off as a real video, but because I am an AI detector myself, I can see. So I think that's a pretty impressive video, and somebody just made this on their iPhone. These videos are fairly harmless, like they're just trying to get engagement and clicks, but it can be used for nefarious reasons too when we get into like fake news and stuff like that. So again, important to try to keep up and detect this stuff. All right. Okay, here are 2 side-by-sides. Something else I've been experiencing as an adult, just a citizen, not working or anything, but I've had to stop and do double takes of videos now. Is this real? Is this fake? So these are 2 similar videos. I want to play them side by side.
Got it. Oh no! Oh my God, dude! My sweater. Are you kidding? I'm so sorry. It slipped. I'll pay for everything. I swear. I'll get towels.
So again, pretty convincing. And if you're just scrolling through, you might not even realize that this is fake. Now it happens to pause on like a floating arm there, and you can see there's sort of like a weird room thing going on. What's that room over there? But it's if you didn't have your brain turned on all the way, that might slide by you. Here's another for comparison. So no one said that the left video is AI and the right video is not AI, but based on my experience, it's pretty obvious to me that the left video is AI. And I believe the right video is real, but I'm starting to doubt what I see But I'm pretty sure the right video is real. You can see there's a icon on the mug that matches the glass. And that's where AI still falls short, is in the details. So when we're looking at pictures, when we're looking at videos, I'm looking at the details. It used to be you counted fingers, but that's not really the case anymore. Just looking at the details that AI gets wrong still. All right, let's get into the practical stuff here. AI tools that you can use in your classroom to improve your teaching and learning. Okay, before we get started, I've coined something I call the EdTech Valley of Misery. So this is where we start as teachers, a mid-level effort to do day-to-day tasks and stuff. And then we have the learning curve, which is where teachers get stuck. And then if you can get over that learning curve, your overall effort will be reduced greatly. So I'm here to tell you that if you can put in the time and the work to learning AI, especially in the early days, it's easier in the early days. If you wait until everything gets more advanced, it's going to be harder to jump in. Now is the time to learn AI. It's such a great time saver. It's such a great force multiplier. You can automate simple tasks and routine tasks and mundane tasks to it, but you got to get over that hump. But let me tell you, as someone who's automated a lot of my workflow, it's a game changer. So don't get stuck in that valley of misery. This is a quick overview based on my opinion and experience, although this is changing. I know Gemini has been putting out a lot of stuff lately, but ChatGPT seems to be the best overall. It's good at pictures, it's good at writing, and they have Sora, which is good at videos, but they're short videos. Claude is good for text and programming, and Google I use because it integrates into your Google environment if you have one. Okay, if you have access to it, Google Read Along is an amazing resource. You can just Google Read Along and find it. It's sort of an AI tutor for reading. I did it with my second graders and they really enjoyed it. I told them they were going to learn to read with a robot and they were really excited. So they see the text on page, they see pictures, and then they read along with it. And the AI marks, it checks each word they read, and then it automatically follows along with them so the student can see where they are. If they need help with pronunciation, they click on a word, it will pronounce the word for them. And the really cool thing is at the end of the story, it will flag 3 words for them to practice. And it will say citizen. And then the student says citizen, and it keeps practicing with them. And so I was able to set it up with all my learners. And then if someone was struggling, I could go and give them spot help. But I think this is a really cool tool and the kids enjoyed it. This is another really cool one. If you have access to Google Gemini, this was a pre-made, what they call a gem. And a gem is like a program you can write that does a certain thing. A great example of a gem, though, called Google Storybook. And you tell it the topic you want. So the really cool thing about AI is the amount of customization you can have. So if you have a kid in your class who really likes to skate or to ride bikes or to swim, you could really make a customized book for people to read. You could do something with your class. If you have stuffed animals in your class, you could say, I did one about the 2 stuffed animals going on an adventure. And it was just really sweet and heartwarming. And the kids are much more into it because they can relate to it and connect with it. And it's something that they know. And just to see it brought to life in a book like that is really cool. And it illustrates the books and it writes the whole thing. And this is perfect for younger students. You could really bring your class to life with that. Notebook LM is another cool one. If you haven't played with it before, it's now integrated into Google and Google Classroom, so it's a lot more accessible. And it can be used with all ages now in the Google Education Suite. So that's a cool one. So this one you can feed in multiple sources, and it can create interactive mind maps. It can create a podcast. It can create an interactive podcast, which is really cool. If you have a PDF or something, I did one on PickRat because I wanted to see. I didn't want to just sit there and read. I actually wanted to listen. And so I let it go on and talk about it. And it made a podcast about PickRat from a PDF I had. And then I click a button and I can ask questions and it answers. I had a teacher come to me. We fed a book into it. And because we had some lower readers who were having trouble accessing the text. And so it made a podcast of the book and the student could ask questions. And it can even make a video. I'll just play a little of this.
Let's be honest. If you're in education, trying to navigate new technology can feel like being dropped in the middle of a massive forest without a map. There are just so many tools, reality of what actually happens in a classroom. All that amazing potential, it often just gets left on the table. Okay, so before we introduce a new
So just to be clear here, all I did was take a PDF, I fed it into Notebook LM, and it made this video, it made a presentation, and it made a voiceover to go with it. It did all this on its own. So if you feel like you want to break from reading, or maybe you want to put on a podcast while you go for a walk or a run or a bike ride, it's just a really great way to access media, and it sounds quite natural. They did a really good job with the voices. Okay, speaking of voice, if you haven't played around with 11 Labs, it's really cool. There's a lot you can do with it. I need to check out their music more, but the text to speech is phenomenal. It makes a really lifelike sounding text to speech. So you could use this to, again, turn text into listening for students with reading difficulties, or you could bring a story to life in a like a professional sounding voice. If a student writes something, you can make it into you can have the voice read it, and it will like bring it to life in that way. But now it can do sarcasm, it can do laughter, it can do whispering, just very nuanced. And one of the really cool things is the video dubbing. I had a teacher come to me. We had a Turkish student with very low English, and they're showing a video in class, and she asked me if we could do something so that she could understand it. So I'll just play about 30 seconds of this so you can see. I think it's amazing. Oh, maybe we won't get sound on this one. Okay. All right, that's a shame. Okay. The original one was in English.
Görünmez Çocuk, Trudy Ludwig tarafından yazılmış, Patrice Barton tarafından resimlenmiştir. Ryan'ı, görünmez çocuğu görebiliyor musun? Bayan Carlotti bile sınıfında onu fark etmekte zorlanıyor. Nathan ve Sophie ile
So this is taking the English video and it's redubbed the entire thing in Turkish using the author's original voice. I think this is so powerful, especially for your low language learners. It lets videos be accessible in a way that they wouldn't be, and it's quite natural sounding as well. Okay. If you haven't noticed, Seesaw has an AI now. I'm still playing around with this. I need to explore it more, but I mentioned that this is AI is it's moving into a lot of spaces. So it's here in Seesaw as well, and I encourage you to take some time and check that out. I see there's an assess reading fluency one that I need to try out next week, actually. But check this out, and a lot of time savers and effort savers in there. And there are lessons on AI literacy too. So I would suggest you can check those out. AI literacy, I really think, needs to be up there with regular literacy and part of our digital literacy curriculum. It's so essential, especially with primary students. We're not looking at this as we are understanding AI. And especially, we need to start young, early on, and let them know that AI exists and they may be seeing it already. It's really important that we are delivering this to our students. Canva has AI built in. I know from my experience, it's not as good with images as, say, ChatGPT, but it is a safe and accessible way for our younger students to access if they wanted to create a picture of like a dog in their city or in their town, or just something really specific that you couldn't find pictures of. They can generate their own pictures now. And that gives them a stronger sense of ownership in their work, and they really enjoy that. So check out Canva AI. It's called Canva Magic Studio. It can do some writing stuff, but I think the cool stuff is the images, the videos, and the 3D designs. And like I said, it's not the best, but for younger students, it's accessible and they really enjoy it. And I did a lesson about prompting where I had the students write a prompt, and then they had to write images, and then they edited the prompt. And it was really good. We connected it to adjectives, nouns, adverbs, and we used that literacy connection to AI to help the students write effective blurbs, and they became prompt engineers, and that was a really good lesson. Okay, one of my favorites here is School AI and Magic School. I prefer School AI because it seems to have a lot less knobs to tweak. Magic School has so much in it. So if you just want a simple, streamlined experience, I recommend School AI. If you want more customization and a lot of tools, Magic School. But they're both really good because they're the only AI, I think Notebook LM and this one are the only ones that are approved for use with students under 13. So this can be used by students. And the thing I really love about School AI is you can make a space. So if you were learning about deforestation, you can go in and prompt your AI. I have my 3rd grade class learning about deforestation. Please keep the students on topic and answer questions about deforestation. And that way, if they want to talk about Pokemon or something, it will redirect them. It's a closed garden. You still get a lot of the creativity and the instant response of AI without having to worry about students being exposed to anything inappropriate. It's made for students, and you can tell it what to talk about and what not to talk about. The other really cool thing about School AI is you can see all of the things your students are doing. You can see all their prompts. It has a filter on it. So if they talk about anything inappropriate, it flags it and it stops the conversation, and it flags it for your review, and you can go back and see. And it gives a little emoji to show what the students are doing. So School AI is such a great resource. We're using it for PYP exhibition this year because it lets, like, if a kid wanted to do research about stray animals in Oman, it's very hard to find resources on that. There's no books about it, basically, and there aren't many websites about it. But School AI can carry on a conversation, and it's very customizable, and each student can find information on basically any topic. So we're really excited about that. All right, Suno AI is a really fun one. It really just makes some great music. This is where your creativity as a teacher can really shine. Like if you wanted to make a song for your class, if you wanted to make a song about a field trip, if you wanted to make a song about a book, if you wanted to make a song about your students writing, it can. And so I'll play a little of this. So I was feeling cheeky, so I had to do a hardcore rap because I was just curious what it would come up with. So this is a hardcore rap about me teaching AI.
Yeah. Kirk stormed the room, must get hit in his stride. He in his veins, knowledge amplified. Elementary teachers, pencils in a grip. Took him to the future on a hardcore.
Now, I just think that's so cool, and I actually find that quite a banger of a song. But if you just think about it, you could have, like, every Sunday morning, you could have a student write a prompt to make a song about their weekend, or at the end of the week, you could have a student write a prompt. You could have all the students write a prompt, and then you pick the best one and have it make a song about the math you learned. And it's just so good at coming up with stuff like that. So this is where we need to start opening our minds, I think, to how can we customize our rooms? How can we get the students involved? Because, you know, a student will be so excited to get their prompt picked to make a song, and then to hear their song, and they can download the song and take it home. So I'm always thinking about ways I can bring in AI to make my room more exciting and to let the students be more involved in the learning. All right, best practices. Not as exciting as all the other stuff, but equally important. If you are a school leader or a grade level leader or anyone with any sort of oversight in your school, we really need to be careful about how we use AI. And there's a lot of stuff we need to think about when it comes to child safeguarding and best practices. So if you're not doing this yet, you need to practice prompting. It took me a while to get into it, but once I started using AI, it became a part of my everyday personal life and my professional life. I was buying new tires recently, and I was asking AI to compare 3 different tires and tell me what was best for each price range and why I would choose one over the other. So it's hard to teach AI if you don't understand AI yourself. So I would urge you to, the next time you have a decision or a task or something to come up, try it out in AI, put a prompt in, see if you get a good good response. And if you don't, modify the response, be a prompt engineer yourself, because we need to do that as teachers. So make sure that you know the age restrictions. So ChatGPT is 13 plus, Claude, Gemini is 13 plus, unless you have Google for Education. So this is where it gets into the weeds. You probably need to check with your IT director, your IT department, and see what's appropriate for students, what's not appropriate. We need to know which AIs are collecting data for training, and make sure that you're never putting any personal information into the AI. Do you have a parent consent form? This is something we're putting out because if we're using AI with student data, the parents need to know about it. And again, really critical that we know that parents know and we know how information is used and what information is put in what systems. So this should be part of your policy, and everyone should understand that. Otherwise, it could put our students at risk. We all have child safeguarding frameworks. AI is a part of that. Do we have clear policies? Do we have clear procedures? Are all teachers on the same page? Are your counselors involved? Is your senior leadership involved? But this should be clearly written into your child safeguarding policy. Okay, so let me get more detail because this is really important. We use Google for Education at my school, and we know that that has an enterprise level security. It doesn't use student data for training, so that is a safe place to input student data. ChatGPT is not, so we've made that explicit. You should never be putting student information into ChatGPT. It's a public entity. It can use that data for training, so it's really careful that we know where to put student data and where not to put it. So make sure that you have a clear understanding of that at your school. And if you don't know, it's better to play it safe and not put it in. Okay, as educators, it's really important we design our lessons for success. We're modeling how to use AI. A good starting place, if you haven't done it before, is what is AI, is just to sit down and through the teacher's control, I put the AI up on the board, and then I ask students to go write out prompts, and then we take a look, and I'll enter a prompt, and you'll get questions like, what's your favorite food? And the AI will say, you know, I'm an AI, I don't eat. But it takes a while for the students to understand it's not a person. It's actually a program. But thinking of ways that we can show how to prompt for our students. So this works really well for in-class and project-based tasks. I'll talk about this more, but writing has become less valuable now that ChatGPT and AI has come out. And like it or not, AI is going to do a lot of the writing in the modern world. So I think that makes project-based tasks a lot more valuable. You know, if you ask your students to make a diorama of a scene or something, then they're not going to use AI for that. But if you ask them to write a long paper about something, that's more likely to have AI misuse in it. If you don't know, in Google and Microsoft Word, you can go and look at revision history. So I've caught some AI use before where at 10 o'clock, the page was empty. And then at 10:01, there's paragraphs of text in there. So that's an easy way to see when AI is being just copy pasted in. But it's important we set clear and consistent policies and rules on how AI can be used. So we say AI should not be used for this. AI can be used for idea generation and to ask questions, or, you know, AI can edit your work. So we're thinking about under what circumstances can AI be used and when can it not be used. But it really comes down to a trust-based culture and classroom management and building relationships, just like everything. If you know your students and you know their voice and they trust you, then I think that takes a lot of the danger out of AI misuse. So don't be fooled if you're using any sort of AI detector software. I think the best they've gotten is like 80% reliability, which means 1 in 5 kids will be falsely accused of using AI. We are the AI detectors. We should be focusing on process over product. We should be focused on the journey, not the destination. We should be looking at drafts. We should be using multimodal assessments. We should be having them, you know, like I said, do project-based learning instead of just writing, and showing their thinking and answering questions. We should be AI transparent. We can use draft checkpoints and check-ins. Okay, you're here today and you're here tomorrow, and this is what you need help with. And you can always ask a student, you know, explain this. And that's always, even before AI. A lot of this is stuff we've been doing before AI, and it's just a new way of applying it to AI. It's not completely novel. This is a diagram I made showing 2 axes here: perceived value and effort required. So our job as teachers is to create high perceived value activities. And those are both good places to be in. Obviously, the green zone is the best, high effort, high value. But even low effort, high value activities can still be valuable. The problem is when we give low perceived value activities. That's when students don't do the work. That's when cheating happens. if you were to ask a fifth grader to write a 5-page essay on the fall of Rome or something like that, that would be a assignment that was just begging for cheating. So we need to be rethinking that. And like I said, project-based learning. If you ask them to make a diorama, I remember I did this in my schooling. I still remember it. I made a diorama of a Roman fort, and then I wrote a paper to go along with it. But that was a lot more effective because I was doing something with my hands and not just writing. It brought the learning to life more. So stay out of the yellow and red zones. That's our goal as teachers. Easier said than done. Okay, fine. And one more thing to talk about here. Accessibility in AI. It's really great for students with learning difficulties, reading difficulties, personalizing learning, giving a personalized tutor. They can talk to it. They can type to it. There's a lot of ways that they can interact with it. And we've seen a lot of success with our learning support team applying AI and reaching marginalized learners. And students, especially students who have like severe performance anxiety, you can say, all right, you go over here, sit at the table, take your time. You're going to talk to the AI and work with the AI and write with the AI. And of course, we're monitoring them on a system like School AI, but they don't have someone looking over their shoulder. And I found that works very well. So I actually think we're going to see this as sort of the future of education, is AI tutors and customized learning. It's a really great thing to explore. All right, getting to the end here, productivity. I'll go through these fast. This is one I use personally, Jamie. Free for light to moderate use, but when I have a meeting, I get consent from everyone. I say, hey guys, do you mind if I have Jamie scribe this meeting? And I turn it on. It records everyone talking. It can identify different speakers. It can create a transcript. It can create a to-do list. And it's really good because like, if you have to have someone there typing notes the whole time, they're not really present in the meeting. And it records the meeting, it makes the AI transcription, and then it deletes the recording. So it's secure as well. And I think you get 10 recordings a month at 30 minutes each. But this has been a game changer for me because it lets me be more present in the meetings. I think as time goes on, it's going to become commonplace that you'll have a fifth seat at the table, which is going to be your AI, and you'll say, all right, make sure you get that down, and it'll be like having a secretary at each meeting, but it's AI. For me, this is one I'm interested in as I do research. It's called Research Rabbit, and it's an AI made for research. So check that out if you're digging through research, which we should be doing as teachers, finding about the research and using data to guide our practice. All right, I don't want to show for ChatGPT in particular, but I got the Pro subscription, and it has been a game changer. The media creation, the improved. When you pay, you get a better model. So if you're using free models, you might not be impressed by AI, but I do think it's worth it, for me at least, to have the Pro model because you get a lot more access. You can do something called deep thinking, which is where instead of giving you an answer in 5 seconds, it gives you an answer in 5 minutes. Again, this is something I would at least try out, maybe trial it and see if it's worth it. But I think we're all going to have AIs just like we all have smartphones. You may have Gemini and I might have ChatGPT, but we'll all have AIs in the future. That's one of my predictions. All right. So here's where I want to challenge your norms and get you thinking about the future. What does writing look like in a world where AI does most of our writing? What does teaching math look like in a world where AI can solve all our math problems? What does teaching research look like when now I Google something, I'm not even clicking on websites, I'm reading AI summary? I don't have the answers for all of these. I don't think anyone has the answers for these. But I do know that the wrong answer is business as usual. We can't just keep doing what we're doing. We can't keep teaching the 5-paragraph essay. We have to upgrade and evolve and think about what's going to be valuable in the future. I mentioned before that writing is less valuable. That may upset some people, especially primary teachers. But, it used to be that a long essay was something valuable and that was something people could read. But now with AI, you could spin up a unlimited length writing on anything in a few minutes. So how does that change the value of writing, and what do we do about it? What sort of writing should we be teaching now? Should we be teaching more creative writing instead of factual writing, or is that still a valuable skill? I think these are discussions we should be having as teachers and as schools. I put this picture here to make us stop and think about the evolution of humanity and how things have changed over time. It used to be that finding a source of pure drinking water was a life or death skill. It used to be that navigating by the sun and the moon and the stars was a life or death skill. It used to be that hunting was a life or death skill. You know, we hear that handwriting creates connections in the brain, but so does so does tracking an animal, so does sailing a boat. All of those things created unique pathways in the brain and now we don't use them anymore. You don't need to hunt, you don't need to find water, you don't need to navigate by the sun. Those used to be life or death, and now they are, I won't say worthless, but they're more of hobbies now. And I wonder, is writing going to move to hobby status? I think in our lifetime, we're going to see handwriting become more of a hobby, because it's already, we can exist in the world without handwriting much. But I know that might ruffle some feathers here, but I just want people to stop and think of all the skills in history that have risen and fallen, because we're experiencing that right now. We're going to see the devaluation of some skills and the revaluation and elevation of other skills. Okay, so that is my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them, and feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or via email.
Okay, so much, Kirk. Great session, and a really great provocation at the end there around, what skills will we need for the future, and skills that we might think are super relevant now maybe will become less relevant as we go forward. And I think that's true in schools, but it's also true in terms of the broader world, right? In terms, I was just reading an article yesterday about so many white collar jobs are going to disappear in the next few years, and like, what will that mean? And your picture actually made me think, it's like it was only 100 years ago that the majority of people in the Western world worked in agriculture, right? And if you told someone then, in the future none of you will be working on farms, they would not have been able to conceive that. So this isn't the first revolution we've gone through, but it's definitely the latest one happening very quickly.
Yeah, right. It's never easy to live through the revolution, especially if you're married to a certain way of doing things. So I think we're going to see a lot of pain coming from that, but I think we'll see a lot of positive creation too. Just like as people moved out of agriculture, they moved into different fields.
Exactly. So there's a couple of questions in the chat, and if you're listening, please do drop any questions that you might have had as Kirk went through and shared all the great stuff. This one was, can you change the language? And I think this was referring to Notebook LM. Cynthia, if I'm wrong on that, please post a comment about I guess in terms of the podcast and so on.
Yeah, was that referring to the what's it called? Notebook LM?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, that is a good question. I don't have an answer for that off the top of my head. My experience has been that most of these are English first, and I don't think that it can change the language, but I'm not sure on that. I know when they asked me to change the language is something, I went to 11 Labs because that had dubbing.
Yeah, I think the answer, unfortunately, may be not possible to change the language.
Or not yet, more likely.
Maybe not yet, yeah. I think it's one of those things where, a lot of these AI tools are very good at English because they're trained on the English internet, right? And actually, your question or wondering about Chinese was an interesting one, because many people have told me that if you want to use Chinese with AI, you're much better off using DeepSeek, for instance, right? Because it's being trained on Chinese internet as opposed to Western internet. So, I think it's just a question of the training data to a certain extent.
Yeah, actually, do you all still use DeepSeek in China? I've been wondering that.
Well, Hong Kong is a bit of a unique situation because we can access some of the Chinese ones, but not all of them, and we can't access all of the Western. So we can't access OpenAI here. We have to use or ChatGPT. So we have to use Poe as a kind of workaround and everything. Yeah, I think I use DeepSeek. Sometimes I use the other ones. Other times, just depends.
Okay.
Here, Rebecca's got a question. What sources can schools look at when developing AI policies? That would be, yeah, that is a good question. Actually, I'm wondering what are you doing at ABA?
So we went off UNESCO's. Can I pull that up on Google? Can I do a Google here to pull it up?
Yeah, you can share the screen again. Yeah,
It's UNESCO's guidance on AI, something like that. That was like our. That's the document. Is it UNESCO or is it? Oh, it's UNICEF. I always get those mixed up. UNICEF has guidance, policy guidance. Here it is. This is what it looks like.
Are you sharing that? Which screen is that on? Because I see.
Oh, it's not right. You can't see it. Sorry. It's called UNICEF Guidance on AI and Children, and it has several documents there. I just realized that you can't see it in that tab. UNICEF Guidance is a great start for policy, for AI policy. We just drafted ours this year, and that was sort of the guiding document for it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great. Well, it's been great doing the session today, Kirk. Thanks so much for sharing and providing some resources for primary school teachers on using AI. Really appreciate it.
Oh, we have one more question there. Should I answer that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a legal side to this, which is depending on where you are. I don't know what it is for China and Hong Kong. In the Europe, it's here it's called the Personal Data Privacy Law, and the European one's escaping my mind. Do you know?
GDPR.
Yeah, GDPR. So know the local laws, and they're pretty much all the same. It's pretty much all the same laws, but just know what your like local version of it is, because that's going to be a legal matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're dealing with student data. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, great. Well, you've got Kirk's contact information. If you're listening, all this recording will be posted, and you can reach out to him if you have any questions. So thanks a lot, Kirk.
Yeah, thanks for the question and the interaction. And Justin, thanks for the chance to be here today.
That's been great. All right, cheers.